Commander Sarah Chen walked through the cargo bay of the orbital station, her boots clanging against the metal floor. Behind her, a small creature scurried along, its 6 tiny legs working overtime to keep pace. Its clawed hand gripped the utility belt around her waist, refusing to let go even for a second. "My shadow's at it again," Sarah said with a smile as her colleague, a tall Vexian named Krell, approached. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, showing his confusion. "You still call it that?" Krell's translator clicked. "The creature has been following you for 3 cycles now. This is most unusual." Sarah reached back without looking, her hand finding the cub's fuzzy head. She scratched behind what she assumed were ears, and the creature made a purring sound. "Yeah, well, he seems to like me." The other crew members nearby chittered and buzzed with laughter. To them, Sarah's attachment to the creature was both amusing and bewildering. The cub was a Ralth, a species known throughout the galaxy for being completely untamable. Adult Ralths were massive predators, standing 3 meters tall with razor-sharp claws and teeth that could tear through ship hulls. They were solitary, aggressive, and had never been domesticated by any species in recorded history. This particular cub had been found in the wreckage of a destroyed transport ship. Its mother was gone, and the creature should have died within hours. Ralths rejected all forms of assistance, even as infants. They would rather starve than accept help from another being. Except this one hadn't. When Sarah found it among the debris, the cub had been weak and dying. She had picked it up, expecting it to scratch or bite. Instead, it had looked at her with large amber eyes and made a small, pitiful sound. Sarah had wrapped it in her jacket and brought it back to the station. The station's xenobiologist, a insectoid Threx named Zix Zix, had been shocked. "It will die regardless," Zix Zix had said, mandibles clicking rapidly. "Ralths cannot bond. They do not accept care. It is genetic impossibility." But Sarah had tried anyway. She had fed the cub, given it water, and created a warm nest in her quarters. The cub had eaten, it had drunk, it had survived, and then it had started following her everywhere, tiny claws gripping whatever part of her clothing it could reach. "Humans are strange," said Mira, a crystalline Yulian whose body reflected the station's lights in rainbow patterns. "You bond with things that should not bond. You care for creatures that care for nothing." Sarah shrugged as she continued walking, the cub trotting behind her like a loyal pet. "Maybe we just see things differently. Back on Earth, we've domesticated wolves, big cats, birds of prey. Things that were dangerous, we made into friends." "But Ralths are different," Krell insisted, walking beside her. "They are engineered by evolution to be alone. They have no pack instinct, no family structure beyond the mother feeding young until they can hunt. After that, nothing. They are the perfect, solitary killers." "Well, Shadow here didn't get the memo," Sarah said, glancing back. The cub looked up at her, its tail swishing happily. Over the following weeks, the cub grew rapidly. It went from the size of a cat to the size of a large dog. Its claws became sharper, its teeth more prominent. The other crew members gave Sarah increasingly worried looks. Some suggested she should release the Ralth before it became dangerous. Others said she should confine it to the cargo bay. Sarah refused. Shadow slept at the foot of her bed. Shadow sat beside her during meals, accepting pieces of her food. Shadow followed her through every corridor, every room, every duty shift. The cub's grip on her belt had become a constant presence. Then came the day that changed everything. The station was attacked by raiders, a group of Korthan pirates who specialized in stealing research and technology. They breached the hull in 3 places, their warriors pouring through with plasma weapons and neural disruptors. The station's small security force was overwhelmed within minutes. Sarah was in Lab 7 when the breach alarm sounded. She grabbed the emergency kit and sealed the door, but it wouldn't hold long. Shadow was beside her, now nearly as tall as her waist. The cub's ears were flat against its head, and a low growl rumbled from its throat. "Easy, boy," Sarah whispered, checking her emergency communicator. It was dead. The raiders were jamming all signals. The door exploded inward. 3 Korthan warriors entered, their armor gleaming black, their weapons raised. The leader pointed his gun at Sarah. "Human, come. You are valuable. Resist and die." Sarah raised her hand slowly. Okay, I'm coming." But Shadow didn't understand surrender. The cub saw a threat to Sarah, and something ancient and powerful awoke in its genetics. Not the solitary hunter instinct the galaxy knew, but something older. Something that had been buried beneath cycles of evolution. A pack instinct. A protective instinct. A bond. Shadow roared, a sound that shouldn't have come from a creature so young. It launched itself at the lead Korthan, moving with speed that Sarah barely tracked. Claws flashed, teeth snapped. The warrior went down, his armor shredded. The other 2 fired, but Shadow was too fast. It bounded off the walls, the ceiling, moving like liquid death. Within seconds, both warriors were on the ground, unconscious or worse. Shadow stood over them, blood on its muzzle, breathing hard. Then it turned to Sarah and made a small, questioning sound. The same sound it had made when she first found it. "Good boy," Sarah said softly, her voice shaking. "Good, Shadow." The cub walked back to her and pressed against her leg. Its claws found her belt again, holding on. When the station security finally repelled the raiders and found Lab 7, they couldn't believe what they saw. A Rolth defending a human. A creature that should have been incapable of loyalty, showing the fiercest loyalty imaginable. Zix examined Shadow thoroughly afterward. The xenobiologist's mandibles clicked in confusion for hours. "Impossible," it kept saying. "The genetic markers for bonding do not exist in Ralths. They were eliminated millions of years ago through natural selection." "Maybe they weren't eliminated," Sarah suggested. She was sitting on an exam table, Shadow lying beside her with its head in her lap. "Maybe they were just dormant. Maybe they needed the right trigger." "And what trigger is that?" Krell asked. Sarah scratched Shadow's head, and the now large cub purred contentedly. "Love," she said simply. "Kindness. Someone who cares when everything says you shouldn't." The story spread throughout the galaxy. The human who tamed the untamable. The woman who made a friend out of the perfect solitary killer. Scientists came from across the star systems to study Shadow, to understand what had happened, but they never found a scientific explanation. The Rolth still shouldn't be able to bond. Its brain structure didn't support it. Its hormones didn't allow for it. Everything about its biology said no. Yet Shadow never left Sarah's side. It grew to full size, a massive predator that could have killed her with one swipe. Instead, it followed her everywhere. Its claws gripping her belt when they walked, its eyes always watching for threats. The other Ralths in the galaxy remained solitary, vicious, untamable. But Shadow was different. Shadow had found something that evolution had tried to erase. It had found a human who believed in impossible things. And when the crew stopped laughing and started marveling, when xenobiologists admitted they had no answers, when the galaxy began to understand that humans possessed something special, Sarah would just smile. "He's my Shadow," she would say, scratching behind the massive creature's ears. "And he's staying right here." Because that was the human gift. Not superior strength or advanced technology, but the ability to see potential where others saw impossibility, to offer love where others offered nothing, to create bonds where none should exist. The galaxy had countless species, each with their own talents and powers, but only humans could look at the universe's most perfect solitary killer and say, "You're not alone anymore." Shadow's claws gripped Sarah's belt tighter, and somewhere in its genetically impossible brain, the Rolth understood. It had found its pack, its family, its human, and it would never let go.